I literally can't even fix my hair. Oh my god, this is so spiky. And it's short, and I got new glasses. Spicy! Hello everybody, it is N, and today I'm going to be reviewing another book, another Stephen King book, called Wolves of the Calla. I know you guys have been waiting for another Stephen King book, and I finally got you. I got you. This book, oh my god, this took me so long, let me tell you. October 9th, I started it, and I just completed it December 23rd, which was yesterday. So, I guess, yeah, whatever. So, it just took me so long. This is the longest book I've read in a long time, apart from some nonfiction stuff. So, this has been a long time coming, and I do want to start it off with some facts, and that would be that the Stephen King books that I've got, you can actually see them over there. Usually you can't see my books. You can see at the bottom, we've got The Dark Tower. That is the movie cover poster, so I got that while the movie was coming out. The Drawing of Three, which is modern cover, or second most modern apparently, they're changing it. And then we've got The Wastelands, which is way old, which is probably like 15, 20 years old. Wizard and Glass, another 15 years old. Song of Susanna, then we've got this one, which is probably the same age. And then Song of Susanna, and then The Dark Tower, which are the second more modern covers. So I've got a bunch of weird covers, and I was gonna go out and buy all the same modern covers, but apparently they updated them again, and now they're different, and I'm not gonna go and like buy new covers for all of them. That's too much money. No, I've got enough, so that's all good. Okay, short rant over. My recording studio is so weird. Yeah. I'm sitting on top, my camera's sitting on top of a Twilight box, on top of a Assassin's Creed box, on top of Winter's Heart, Book 9 of Wheel of Time. And then we've got over here Book 5 of the Stephen King's The Dark Tower. So, first of all, let me tell you guys, this was a slog to get through. Oh my god. The biggest thing I want to warn anybody who comes into this series is that, in general, I find that people who enjoy fantasy as a genre don't particularly enjoy this series. They find it very weird, because Stephen King's an odd writer, but I like him. But people who like fantasy don't like this series. People who like Stephen King will like this series. So this is not, it's technically a fantasy, but not many people who like fantasy like this series, from my experience. So I don't know. From that, I gotta say, usually fantasy series are really, really slow. That's why we call them a fantasy. They're so slow, and they're so obnoxiously world building all the time that sometimes it's just a slog to get through. Not this one. You know how long it took me to read The Stand? A book, I think it was like almost twice as long or something. I don't know. It's way longer than this. It took me 2 months to read The Stand. And this took me nearly 3 months. This took me like a good 10 days or something, shorter than 3 months, and that's just insane because I don't read slowly. I do not read slowly, but this, I hated this. Okay, I shouldn't have said hated. That's not a very, very fair word, but I'll go through every reason why I didn't particularly like this book. The main one, as you would have guessed, is the just slowness of the plot. Okay, so this book is about 920 or so pages, and that would mean it's one of King's longer works, 300,000 words or so. So that means a lot of his books are shorter than this, and I enjoy those because those tend to be really nicely paced. But this book, usually in a King book, tons of stuff happens, and I love that. That's just like it. Oh my god, so much happens. Stand, so much happens. With this book, I couldn't tell you like 3 different things that happened within the first 2/3 of this book. Nothing really happened. I don't remember what happens. Nothing goes down, and I really, really hate that, because while I was reading this, I'm just reading through like, what is the point? Why does any of this matter? The entire plot is predicated on a ticking time bomb that these wolves are gonna come and kill everyone in, I think it's 30 days or so. And so, we have 30 days to prepare. What do we do for the 30 days? I don't know, but we spend the 30 days doing something, and we just go through the 30 days doing something. I'm so confused. Nothing really makes sense. The parts that don't make sense, because often there are a lot of parts in the King book that don't make sense to me, and so I try to like skim those and read, like, in fairness, I gotta read hard, but usually like that kind of hits me back later on because I don't understand. But with this book, I skimmed a lot. I skimmed so much because I just didn't care about the backstory. The backstory didn't matter at all of Callahan. Like, half the stuff didn't matter in the first 2/3, and yet I skimmed them, and yet they didn't hit me. I didn't care. It doesn't matter by the end of it. This book could have easily been half the length. This was so incredibly boring throughout most of the beginning. But the thing is, I can't really go and say that this is a bad book, because I know I say this about every Stephen King book, but it's so perfectly, magnificently written, technically. I love the writing itself. I loved the plot as it goes. It's a very interesting plot, a very interesting twist, great characters, wonderful subplots. Characters themselves were written so awesomely that of course I couldn't drop it to a 1 star, but you know, that's as far as I went, because this is a solid King book on its own, just a bad book. Just didn't like it. In fairness, this isn't exactly, I feel like what King was going for during this book is to kind of take a small subplot to work on what's going on with Susanna. If you know the story so far, Susanna is going through something at this point, and I think we're just taking a giant subplot to let that develop while we're getting an interesting story on its own, and then we can just jump back into it, which is the ending, that we can jump right back into it. And I really hate that, because this entire thing is a subplot. Like, for example, people really hate Wizard and Glass because it has nothing to do with the story itself. Okay, sure, fair enough. I enjoyed Wizard and Glass because it was a side story, but it was a side story that, of course, was not meant to be on the path to the beam. This book is meant to be on the path of the beam. They are literally going towards the tower when they do this. The Wizard and Glass, they're not going towards the tower. They're just existing somewhere else. And of course, there's no need to go towards the beam, and so they're just chilling over there, they're just doing their own adventure, and then we like flip back to normal time, and we're like, okay, that was a good story on its own, we can get back to this thing. This was similar in that way, but it wasn't a very good story. It was a good story, not on par with the other stuff that's going on, so we've got that. But then when we step aside, it's like, dude, you're in the middle of going to the Dark Tower, what are you doing? Why are you stepping aside? And it's literally, that's what this is. This is a 900-page side plot that has next to no impact on the actual story. The only impact I can see is Callahan, as well as Black 13, and okay, well, there is some development in the human world. There's some development there, but I feel like that could have been very easily condensed and shoved into the next book, which I haven't read yet, obviously. So this entire book was really pointless. Also, Susanna, that's very heavily developed through this. But most of this, like the stuff that matters in this book, is so small that nobody cares. And the stuff that doesn't matter is the entire book, this entire book. So, do I regret reading this? Absolutely not. I did go through a new story, and it was a decent story. It's just a giant waste of my time, and I really wish it had been way shorter. I'm absolutely not wanting to read this again because, God, that was so slow. It was so really bad that I just don't want to read it again. And that's why I'm going to drop it A's. It's 2 stars, okay? My words are not functioning. So, 2 stars. You get 2 stars, Wolves of the Calla. And it was some good stuff in there, but I don't want to read it again. 3 means if you told me to read it again, I'd be like, alright, read it again. This I don't want to read again. This, I'm done. If I ever reread The Dark Tower, this is the one I'm skipping. I don't want that. I'm gonna read, yeah, I might not read The Dark Tower ever again, but I'm skipping this one. This one was kind of a slog. And I guess in fairness, I have read every book in the series until this point, so I might as well go along and rate them. I'm gonna go ahead and say that my favorite book out of all of them is probably Wizard and Glass. Wizard and Glass was so fun that I just thoroughly enjoyed it. In second place would probably be The Wastelands, which in its own right was very slow, and I might have been overplaying it by rating it a 5 out of 5. It was a pretty good book. The ending was pretty solid. And then we go on to, I guess it would have to be the second book, a Drawing of 3, and then the first book, which is The Gunslinger, which I understood almost none of, but still beats this thing because that was at least like a short book. Like, he didn't know what he was doing when he wrote that book, but at least it was kind of short. And then we have this, which is my least favorite of the entire bunch. Really, I did not like that at all. I'm hoping the Song of Susanna picks up where this thing missed off, and it goes on with some tight plot. And it's very short. It's much shorter than this. It's like 600 pages, so I'm excited for that. And then The Dark Tower, it better be good. That thing is even longer than this. And if that's not good, I'm gonna hate King, because this is the entire adventure. It better be good. And also, you can barely see it over there, the wind through the keyhole. I feel like that's gonna be a good one. That's the shortest of the entire one, I think. So, that is my review of Wolves of the Calla. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed my opinion of this. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe down below or hit a like button to let me know that you actually like the series and I should continue posting reviews of this book series in itself. So thank you guys for watching. If you have read the series or have any thoughts about Wolves of the Calla, let me know in the comments down below, and that's about it. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!